Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is Jacob coming at you with our live training this week. This is the second one, so I'm impressed that I've actually been able to stick something out for more than one episode. We are going to be chatting all things information, marketing, info biz kind of space, and we're going to be breaking down really five core areas. I want to set some foundational stuff. Then I want to get into a bit of a recap on the mindset, which we actually did a deep dive into last week. We'll talk offers, we'll talk selling, we'll talk traffic / audience building, positioning, branding, all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be a crash course. I don't have slides. You're going to have to put up with our mugs and talking for however long we're here. But that's not so bad if you ask me. So I'm going to give people a little bit of time to jump on. And looks like we've got a few people hopping on. We're up to StreamYard's telling me 22. That might be a random number. I have no idea if that's accurate or not. But I'm going to pull up comments on my other screen and we will kick off momentarily.
I just happened to glance up and see a comment by none other than Tony. Brilliant. Good to see everyone.
Probably should introduce you as well. For the people who aren't in SAA or SAI and you don't know this gentleman, Jamie is one of my business partners and he is one of the coaches in our program, the Super Affiliate Accelerator. He's a high-ticket affiliate marketer himself. He's built his own six-figure online business. He's sold millions of dollars of stuff offline. He's our go-to sales dude. He's my go-to sales guy from a reference point in terms of learning and how do I handle this and this and that. I lean on him a lot for a lot of aspects. And so I wanted to bring him on because from an info biz perspective, we're going to be talking about a lot of different concepts. And the last 12 months from my own business perspective has been going from that multi six-figure level, up past the seven-figure level. Whereas Jamie, for the last 12 to 18 months, he's been building to that six-figure level in his business. So two kind of different tranches. And if you watched us live, watched me live last week, you would have heard me talk about how there's different mindsets at different levels, and you're going to be presented with different challenges. So him and I were just chatting before the live, and I roped him into it and said we can kind of jive back and forth, and it might make it a little bit more entertaining for people if we make this a little bit more conversational. So I'll talk through some stuff, and then we can get Jamie's perspective on it, which in some regards is going to be a little bit more fresh. And I'm sure some of the challenges he's faced are different from the challenges that I've faced, but a lot of this comes back to fundamental stuff. So bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to get some comments pulled up and we will kick it off. Make sure you guys are all dropping a hashtag live. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you've got going on. If you don't like people who sit and don't comment.
Thanks for the very warm welcome, by the way.
It's all right. That is all right. Gotta let everybody know who they got here.
Yes, I did indeed get a haircut. It was a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome. All righty. Yeah, make sure everybody's dropping comments. Just go nuts. Just like one letter, drop 50 each. Let's get the engagement up.
50 each.
Let's just get some interaction going on. All right, cool. So information business, real quick. When I say information business, what am I talking about, right? So for me, I really think about three buckets, and that really ties into my personal experience. I think about either selling somebody else's products as an affiliate. There are other people's courses, software you could lump into it, other people's coaching programs, events, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I also think about building your own information products, creating your own courses, those kind of things. And I think about the arm of coaching / consulting, either working with people in a group or working with people one-to-one in order to help them achieve a certain outcome, overcome a certain problem, avoid a certain pain, save money, lose weight, whatever that may be, right? In whatever niche you want to play in. So when I talk about an information business, that's what I'm talking about. It's the sale of some type of package of information, either your own or you're promoting somebody else's. And the fundamentals of doing that are pretty universal. There's certain things you need to understand if you want to be able to charge more. if you don't want your life to turn into an absolute mess when you take on a bunch of customers and clients. There's some certain ways to think. There's certain tricks around crafting offers. There's definitely a lot to learn in the sales realm, and we're gonna kind of 101 it today. I've got some notes here on my handy dandy notepad, and we can start walking through these, and then Jamie and I'll bounce back and forth on stuff that is relevant at different levels, our own experiences, our own stories, all that kind of stuff. We're going live in 4 places, so if you want to put a question in, go for it. If we miss it, I apologize. It's because I've got 3 screens, but apparently I need 4 if I'm going to stream in 4 places. But yeah, if you want to drop a comment, we'll do our best to get to it at the end. If we've got time, we can do a bit of a Q&A. So we will kick it off. I wanted to set the scene to begin with, and just talk about a couple of things that you should be conscious of in the info space at a high level. Before we even get into touching on the mindset piece of it, which I won't go into too much detail because we did a deep dive on it last week, but a couple of points to recap. And one of them was, you got to realize what business you're in. Okay. You'll be able to get through, I think, to the 6-figure level without understanding this. But in order to really push up into the 7-figure bracket and beyond, you've got to know what business you're in. And that's not the business that most people think they're in. Most people think they're in the business of selling a weight loss course, right? Or selling a parenting course, or coaching, people on their relationship or whatever. You're not in the business of that. You're in the business of marketing that, right? And particularly people in the space that we play on, where they're building personal brands, you're in the business of being you, okay? How you present yourself, how you present the information that you have, how you package the information that you have, your ability to craft a brand that is desirable to people. That's what they're paying to get access to. They're paying to get access to you and to your information. I know there's a lot of coaches and stuff out there that say, you're so special. You can do something that nobody else can do. It's not always the case. Like, there's people that can do what I do. Some of them can probably do it better. Some of them aren't going to be as good, right? Like marketing, sales, all that kind of stuff. It's not a 100% unique skill set, except for a very, very, very small fraction of the market. What that means is that people need to want to buy you, your story, the brand that you create, as opposed to the borderline commodity that may be your information. And there's strategies in how you package it so that it doesn't become a commodity. But that's why the positioning and the branding and stuff is so important, because look, there is a small percentage of people who are 100% unique, and it's the only thing that they can do, or they're the only person that can do what they do. Like, I'm not sure there'd be too many other people out there in the world who could run Tesla the way that Musk does, or SpaceX. Like, there wouldn't be too many people who can do what he does. But, for the average Joes like us, there's probably going to be other people who can do similar things. So you need to be conscious of your marketing and all that kind of stuff, right? That's a big lesson, is what business you're actually in. That's fun too, because, focusing on marketing and selling means that you're going to generate more customers and clients, which means you can actually help more people. Everyone's like, yeah, but I just want to help people. And it's like, yeah, but you can't if you don't sell to them, unless you want to give it away for free, in which case they're not going to value it anyway. So, the marketing and the selling has to come first if you actually want to be able to help people anyway. That's the first point I wanted to touch on. The second one is, for me, and this might be a good point where Jamie can chime in, because I know for him, particularly in the last kind of 12 to 15 months, this has really ramped up, is the power of momentum in this info space, and your ability to both internally and externally leverage momentum to continuously level up, right? To be continuously creating higher value, more premium programs, offering people solutions in different ways, both learning from previous offers and stuff like that, but also externally the results that you generate and the momentum that they create leveling up. Momentum's been pretty big for you this year, hey man?
Yeah, it has actually a really interesting talking point, because I remember discovering that and you kind of introducing me to that concept, and how it's, we've discussed flywheels and things like that before, and it's that idea of one success propels you to the next success, so on and so forth. Hence why likes of yourself have had a pretty illustrious career and your comparatively short tenure in the online space. But I guess where I'm going with that is from my own personal experience, I didn't quite realize the power of that momentum until I started resting on my laurels. And so case in point was sort of earlier last year, I had a pretty decent break, actually late 2019. I sort of really started understanding that all these skills and all this knowledge that I'd spent years trying to develop and nothing really worked per se, was just a couple of things that needed to be adjusted slightly in order for it to actually kick into gear. But then what happened was I thought, well, cool, I'm experiencing the success, and it seems to have kind of equalized in terms of my income, things like that. I thought, that now seems like a great time to go off and do this whole other project. And so I spent essentially 2 months in early-ish 2020 going and pretty much I wasn't ignoring the affiliate space per se, but I was very heavily involved in two other things that I thought I felt at the time that I could work on in the background. And essentially I lost a ton of momentum, and unsurprisingly I lost a ton of income as a result of that. And so I ended up having to spend that time of just building up my kind of momentum once again. And so it's an incredibly important thing to first of all start, and whatever that momentum is for you. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a financial thing to start with, especially for those that are not experiencing the financial results of affiliate marketing or info marketing as yet. But it can be the other things. It can be just the level of consistency in which you're producing content, which then leads to generating inbound leads, which then leads to more conversations, which then leads to whatever it is for you. And so that momentum, that's usually the starting point. And then strangely enough, when you do actually start getting some finances from your efforts, becomes very addictive, and that process then is allowing you to then build that momentum even further, which for those of you that have seen some of the success stories out of SAA, that's what a lot of those people are doing, is that they start small and they might have a 3K month, and then that very quickly blows up into a 10K month, and then so on and so forth, as you've all seen. So it's really powerful stuff.
It's massive. I think one really good point that you mentioned there, and it goes in with momentum, and I'm sure there's some scientific connection to the definition of it all, but motion for me is the word that pops up. Like staying in motion, even if you don't feel like it's the perfect direction that you're moving in, or you're not 100% clear on the message and all that, but staying in motion instead of just. Sometimes you have to completely stop when things pop up, and I've done that from time to time, but as much as possible, staying in motion, so that you can, even almost artificially get that momentum going in your favor, I think is really, really important in this space. And then the last word that I had written down, or last two words that I had written down as kind of high level points that I wanted to touch on are reputation is important. And I don't just mean reputation from like a, Jamie's a good dude perspective, or Jamie helped me out perspective. I mean reputation in terms of what do people talk about when they talk about you, right? What stories do they share? What do they know you for? What do they know you as? What do they know, your value set to be? What's the profile of reputation that springs to mind when your name pops up? Okay. And for the people watching this that are mega early on, you may not think this is important, but you can start choreographing this early. You can write down, we have a video in the accelerator program where we talk about coming up with your brand positioning. What do you stand for? What don't you stand for? What are your values? What aren't your values? Who do you want to work with? Who don't you? Like coming up with this profile of you as a brand, and really defining that so that from early on you can build it. And what you start to do is you start to integrate stories into your marketing and stuff that you repeat over and over and over again. And for example, a couple of stories that I share is obviously the ClickFunnels thing. I share the legendary thing. But one of my big ones is the KBB launch, which is this little guy, and the 6-figure day. And so I've had people randomly message me going, hey dude, I heard you, I've never spoken to these people before. And they go, hey dude, I heard you had a 6-figure day on the KBB launch. So I'm like, well, how the hell did you know that? Like, where'd you come from? They're like, oh, I was talking to so-and-so and they told me about your KBB. Like, your reputation and the stories that you share and stuff, they start to develop this life of their own. So start thinking about what stories do you want to integrate and make them accurate. I literally just put up a post in my group about moron marketers coming up with bullshit stories. You know,
I was living in my car. And
I had negative $1 billion, and then I went on a jungle safari and I found this scroll under a tree and I had to fight off a lion and like all this shit. Like it's out of control. Just make it you and make it your story. And that will start to build a reputation, and then you can compound on that as the results come, and you can develop that story even more. Story, not a fictional story, like a real story. So they're kind of a few high level points that I wanted to mention, all really, really important. And I think they're worth being conscious of even early on. If you can be conscious of how powerful momentum is, if you can be conscious of what business you're actually in, aka the marketing and sale of yourself and your products, and you can think about how am I positioning myself. If you set up early days with understanding those things, you will do a hell of a lot better than if you ignore those things. Like this is stuff that I didn't figure out until later on, and it would have been helpful to know it earlier. So I'm sure the people that understand what I'm saying will take something from this. That kind of leads us into the 4 or 5 buckets that I want to touch on. The first one's mindset, and I don't want to hang on this too long because we did a deep dive on it last week. You can go find the live in the group or on the YouTube channel. But a couple of points to touch on, which are on pricing. It doesn't have to be directly tied to how much stuff you give people. I think especially for beginners and in certain parts of the market, when people have a beginner mindset, they attribute value of something to, well, how many videos am I getting? How many PDFs am I getting? When it's not helpful. Like the value should be attributed to, what's it going to do for you ultimately, right? Like I've paid $500 for a 20-minute video from somebody that was a recording of a one-to-one coaching call that they had, but it was walking through a particular strategy. And some people might go, well, that's nuts. You're paying $500 for a 20-minute video. That's like, $1,500 for an hour of a video. Or you could say, I've now taken that strategy and it probably made me $100,000. Like that's a no-brainer for me. And that's how you need to shift your thinking, both from a consumer perspective, like from a buying perspective, but also from a selling perspective. I put up a post last night. I messaged Jamie and I said, hey man, I've got an offer idea that I want to roll out, and wrote up a post. It took me 8 or 9 minutes, and it was literally just before I went out and had some tea. And that was a pre-sale of an offer to jump on a group call with me for 2 hours. So people aren't getting a lot of stuff, but they know that time will be mega valuable, and that was for $500 a head. So you can sell something for $500. You can sell something for $1,000. It doesn't have to be this hugely developed perfect thing. It's about how you present it, how you package it, and the outcomes that you show people you can help them achieve. Okay, so don't tie price in the stuff that you sell and the stuff that you buy. Don't tie price to how much shit am I getting, right? Because you don't need it. Like you don't need all the stuff. What you need is the kind of focused feedback. And same when you're selling. The price game when you're selling is 90% you. A very small percentage of it is what's going on in your consumer's head. You set your prices like on a release of a product. And I've had to learn this the hard way. Look, I'm definitely not perfect. I've gone in circles on pricing, as Jamie's had to deal with, and it's not until you realize that where you're jumping around in your head, like, do I do 3K? Do I do 5K? Do I do 7K? That conversation is not being had publicly. All your consumer sees is it's $5,000, and that's it, right? So set your prices and don't set them too low, because honestly, the majority of it is a battle in your own mind as opposed to what's going on in their head. Okay.
Just comment on that as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I know this was a shift in paradigms for me back in the day, because I had historically focused on low ticket products only. And the strange irony was that offline I had sold millions of dollars worth of products and services and all sorts of random things, and very, very high ticket in some cases as well. But for some reason, when I brought my sales skills online, it was like a mental shift that I had to make to kind of believe that I was actually qualified to sell a high ticket product. And so I see that with a lot of people entering, I guess, this arena in general, and specifically our program as well, where you can kind of tell there's like a bit of a stuckness in terms of, oh, well, I don't feel qualified to sell high ticket. But the reality is that it isn't any different. I think it's just something that people need to like dial up that sort of process, or that the idea in their mind to think, well, yes, it's no different, and I am qualified to be able to sell this stuff and all that sort of thing. I think that was just a realization that I had to come to, and I think a lot of people kind of go through that as well, which is why they stick to the low ticket things only a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. Pricing is a really interesting area of study in particular. If you're a nerd. Two other points on mindset. I'm not going to harp on this. You can go watch the other live I did. Tackle your marketing and your sales directly. Stop trying to circumvent dealing with the fact that you have to sell and you have to do direct response marketing by, doubling down on other things, right? Like doubling down on putting more into your offers, or doubling down on value, or doubling down on all of these other things. When you need to put up a post that makes an offer, right? Like you need to make offers, you need to market, you need to sell. Stop trying to ignore what's going to generate the cash, trying to do other things in hope that they'll generate the cash. If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
And it seems obvious, but we all forget it. We all forget to, maybe I should make a new offer to my audience today. And then boom, a couple of grand. Like there's people there. People want to buy. People don't just buy one thing. People buy stuff. If it's something that they're obsessed about, they buy over and over and over again. So keep making new offers. It's really important. And then the last point on mindset is this is the most obvious thing in the world. And I think my corporate background and coming from especially the time in New York and the Wall Street game, and I've always had a big money focus in my business because that's the world I came from. But I feel like people lose sight of the fact that you're doing all this stuff. You're posting on Facebook, you're posting on YouTube, you're posting in your group, you're posting to sell stuff. And that gets lost. That gets lost in a lot of the woo-woo crap. That gets lost in all of the confusion of what people are trying to do. They forget, right? They forget that they're doing this to sell stuff. And that ties into the point previously. So just keep that front of mind. You're not in business to create content and never get a return. Like you're in business to sell stuff. And some people don't like that. Some people can't handle that directness of, how dare Jacob say that he's just in business to sell stuff? It's like, well, I don't know what you're fucking in business for, but that's why I'm in business. Like if you're in business for good wishes, good luck. It's not going to work. You're in business to sell stuff. And anybody that can't come out and say that, they've got some weird shit going on. So just keep that in mind. It's not that shouldn't be like a he said he's just going to sell stuff. Like no, it's that's the only reason. You're helping people, the impact which everyone bangs on about, that comes as a result of selling stuff. You can't do it without that because people don't pay enough attention. That saying of people who pay attention, I think that can be modified even further and say people who pay enough to scare the shit out of themselves, they pay attention. If people can spend $1,000, $2,000, depends on your financial situation. You could drop $5,000, but if that isn't putting a dent in your wallet to the point that it makes you go, oh shit, I should probably do something with that, you're still not going to pay attention. It's about people who pay enough that it kind of makes them squirm in their seat a little bit. They pay attention, right? They pay attention. And then you can help them. but you can't help them unless you sell them shit, because they don't pay attention to free stuff as much as when they pay, right? Like I'm not naive enough to think that people are going to watch this and actually go and do something with it. Some people will, but the majority of people won't, because it's free, right? Like what you're hearing is lessons of years of figuring this shit out and doing a lot of stuff wrong and a lot of sleepless nights, and yet it's because it's free. The percentage of people who do anything with it is tiny. So you have to sell stuff in order to be able to impact. But people and business coaches and stuff, they like to you know, let's talk about all the impact and stuff. And it's like, well, how the fuck do I do that if I don't sell something? We can't. So it comes back to selling. That's my point.
That's brilliant.
Alrighty. So with that shit out of the way, there's either 3 or 4. It depends how much time we get. The 3 buckets that we bang on about in the high ticket space with our clients, and exact same for high ticket affiliate space. Sorry, with our clients, it's the exact same for info products, and it's the exact same for coaching and consulting. You need, and this is so important if you're just getting started. You need to have very, very clear. You should be able to write down in a Google Doc, right? You should be able to write down, what do you sell? How do you sell it? And who do you sell it to? Okay. And now when I say the who, I don't just mean like what's their avatar. Like Sally's 40, she lives in Kansas and she's got 3 kids. Like, I mean, what platform? What's your actual implementation strategy to get in front of Sally, right? And most people can't answer those 3 questions. Most people are like, oh, well, you know, I kind of sell this thing, but then I've also got this, and I've got this biz op, and I do a bit of coaching, and you know, sometimes I, you know, put furniture in the trading post, and like they do all these different things. And then it's like, okay, well, how do you sell it? Oh, well, I've got 85 funnels, and I've got 17 chatbots, and I've got this really complex thing, but it doesn't work. And then I tried to talk to a few people once, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And then traffic, they're like, oh, you know, I really want to get into Clubhouse. And it's like, well, aren't you on Facebook? And it's like, yeah, but it's not working. It's like, well, you're not posting enough, or what you're doing the wrong way. You need to narrow down on those 3 things to start. You need, in my opinion, 1, maybe 2 in the offer category, but narrowing in on 1 in each of those is going to be so powerful. Another reason I wanted to bring Jamie on is when him and I first connected, I saw the guy everywhere. I was like, this guy's fucking everywhere. He must be like killing it. I was like, look, you know, you're more in my face than Sam Ovens and Ty Lopez. Like this guy must be destroying it. And then we caught up and we had a chat, and I gave him some tips on kind of simplifying, because he was in a lot of places, but there wasn't clarity on that path, what you sell, how you sell, who you sell it to. And I think the really cool thing with Jamie, which is why things took off for him, is because that strategy that we built out really doubled down on his strengths, and it took the millions of dollars worth of experience from the offline world and applied it to the online world. And we gave him that direct sequence. And the story he was sharing before about, you know, when he stepped away from that is when he stepped away from that sequence. And you're not going to keep that forever. Eventually you'll add new layers to the offer bucket. Eventually you'll add different layers to the conversion bucket. And eventually you'll stack channels on top of each other in terms of traffic and audience building and stuff like that. But start with a focus across 1 in each of those. And until you build the momentum that we spoke about at the beginning, you don't want to go and make it more complicated. Do you want to share a bit of your kind of experience with that concept?
Yeah, it's kind of a poignant point there, actually. I can hardly speak this morning, apparently. But anyway, basically, some of you guys know kind of the story, but I had been an affiliate since 2011. I just wasn't, the pieces weren't being glued together properly. And although I had the technical capabilities, I had kind of like what Jacob was joking about. I was like the male version of Sally, apparently. But I was doing all the stuff. I was doing, you know, I had all sorts of different lists. I had chatbots, I had ads. I was running ads full time as my profession. I was set up an agency, and I was actually doing okay in that. But I was like, no, my passion is affiliate marketing. And yeah, when I met Jacob, I was doing, I think I counted, I was doing like 11 or 12 different things every day. And the question that still remained was, yeah, but like, which lever do you pull to get money out the other side? Like, what's the thing that you do that can create revenue for your business? I was like, fuck if I know. I don't know the thing, like all of them together. And so the simplification of that, it was like a massive weight off my shoulders, because I then understood I do actually have a lot of these skills, and it was just refining a lot of that stuff down, and all these years that I'd spent learning all this stuff, and then just making that congruent into something that is packageable, simple, and repeatable. And that way I know that, okay, if I wake up in the morning, I've got like, there's only these 4 or 5 things I need to do every day, and that's going to give me the highest probability of actually getting an ROI in my business and deriving revenue from that. Going back to one of the points Jacob made, he said, this guy's bloody everywhere. And at that time I thought, cool, I'm just going to create my own audience. And so my logic at that time was I was going live in 3 different places every day across different groups and stuff like that. I was developing at least 1 YouTube video every day at the time as well, not to mention looking after all my clients, not to mention my own ads and different things that I was doing, plus producing content and outreach and all that sort of stuff. And so it was just an absolute nightmare. And I think, as Jacob alluded to, when I let go of some of those things, and it took a bit of swallowing of pride to realize that some of that stuff wasn't actually serving me, wasn't actually creating revenue in my business. I was just went, all right, fine, I'll get rid of that stuff and I'll focus on where's the money. What's the question to ask myself every day, which is what can I do today, right now, to bring in the highest probability of revenue into my business? And that's making offers, it's selling, it is connecting with people and building that audience, building that goodwill within my audience, and making bloody offers. I'm going to keep hammering that one home, because that's where the cash lies, is what you're offering your audience.
Mega powerful. And we've spoken about this topic recently too. Jamie's experienced the best and the worst of me in terms of I have 2 speeds. I don't really have like an in between. I'm either like a billion miles an hour and I'm messaging at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, why the fuck aren't you awake? I want to talk about something. Or I'm like, bro, can't do people today. I'm out and I'm fucking gone. I'm like off on the beach doing nothing. Like I struggle with like balance as a concept. I've gotten better, but I'm not good at it. And what I've found is reflecting on that when I'm in those, what I call my Rambo mode. That's when I've got immense clarity over those things, what I'm selling, how I'm selling it, who I'm selling it to, and the direction that I'm taking those things overall. When that doesn't exist, your productivity and your focus probably doesn't come from where you think it comes from. It probably comes from a lack of clarity on those core pillars. Because if you've got a clear goal and you've got clarity on those 3 pillars, you can just do, right? The fastest way that I've found to short circuit those periods of, floundering or lack of momentum, is through action. It's through just like forcing yourself to do something. And it will, it doesn't always, but in a lot of cases it can jolt it, so that if you're not focused, reflect on those 3 points and go, do I have clarity on those, or am I trying to do too much in each of those buckets, or do I not have anything in, are you just posting on Facebook and you've got a product, but you have no idea what happens in between, right? Or are you, maybe you've got an offer and you're trying to talk to people on Messenger, right? Or you're building funnels, but you've got no content out there to draw people in. Like maybe one of the pillars is missing, or the most ridiculous one, but you'd be surprised how often it happens. Oh, Jacob, I've been doing affiliate marketing for a year and I haven't made any money. Or Jacob, I've been trying this online business thing for a year. Well, what are you selling? I don't know. That's where you start, right? And then you can build out from there. Couple of points on those 3 buckets. I had planned on kind of tackling them individually, but I think we've nicely addressed it as a sequence, which is probably a bit more efficient. Couple of points to touch on. From an offer perspective, your ability to come up with different offer structures and then package and present those in a way that's attractive is going to be one of your most powerful skills that you can learn. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard. It just takes thinking about what's going to be desirable to people, what's going to be time efficient for me and is going to allow me to charge a price that I want to charge, all these kind of things. So offer creation is a big area that I would focus on. And you know, there's different strategies and stuff out there. You know, things to think about from an offer creation perspective. What's the ultimate outcome for people? What problem is it solving for people, right? Like if they've got a burning issue, like I'll draw an analogy to the post I put up last night. That was an offer to jump on a group call and audit people's high ticket affiliate marketing business, and the posts in my free Facebook group, if you guys want to go find it. That's people are going to have issues, and that allows me to quickly diagnose and help them fix it. So think about, you know, what's a problem people have that's really, really burning, and that's going to make a great offer. I could have done that same post, but I could have narrowed in on something in particular. I could have said, you know, me and my sales dude, Jamie, we're going to jump on, we're going to go through your messages with you for 2 hours, and we're going to, you know, we'll be able to tell you what you're doing wrong or what you need to change or what you should try. So think about the problems, and then you can craft the offers from that. In terms of the structure of how you deliver them, that's borderline infinite. Like how you structure up an offer can be, you know, it can be anything. This one I put up yesterday is not a structure that I've used before. It was just an idea that I had. But we'll see how it goes. You know, you can try really anything.
My favorite example of yours, which was last year at some stage, and I think you might have been on the run, if I'm not mistaken, and you like literally put up, it was like 4 sentences for, I think, the Ian Stanley thing.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, we've got this thing, you drop a comment if you want it. And I love that, because it was like, just try it. Just throw it out there. See what happens. You can always delete the post. You can always, like, if it gets crickets, who gives a crap, you know, like it's
and it doesn't even have to be a direct offer. Like it can be, you can have the offer in the back of your mind and you can throw the hook out there, right? Like another example I can think of is like a bait post. And that could be on YouTube as well. It could be to your email list. This stuff's universal. Is like I can remember one bait post I did that did really, really well. And this was 2019. I remember writing it because I was like running down the stairs on the way to the pub. And I wrote like three lines, like literally typing it as I get into the Uber. I'm like, "G'day, mate, how you doing?" As I'm hopping into the Uber. And it blew up. And I remember doing the math at some point. The post I'm pretty sure it made over 10 grand, that one post, because I knew what I wanted to offer on the back end, but it was just another, you know, way to grab people. And that strategy is covered in the Rolodex, which I just put a link to if anyone wants to jump into that. See, selling is important. So yeah, think about offer creation. Think about how can I, you know, package different things. What problem is it going to solve for people? And look, this is a thing people may or may not agree to, you know, believe. But the faster you can start selling stuff that's even a bit more expensive, the faster you're going to hit your income goals. You don't need to look at like guys like Dan Henry and go, oh, you know, high ticket, I got to sell something for 50 grand. Like you might get there, but you don't need to do that right now. For a lot of people, a $500 product, a $1,000 product, a $2,000 product, a few sales of that can really move the needle. So look at how you can integrate high ticket. There's a dude who I follow. He's a really nice guy, and I really like his stuff. It's high quality. His name's Stepan Halinka, and he put up a post that a ton of people plagiarized, and he was actually the first to put it up. And he talks about the connections between an online business and Tesla. And it's a coincidence that I'm mentioning Tesla twice. I'm not some kind of fanboy or anything.
Don't lie.
He talks about the sequencing and starting with high ticket first. So, you know, low volume, high margin, high ticket products to bring in the cash flow. And then you can start looking at, you know, more mid-tier with a bit more volume, and then lower ticket with more volume. But if you want to move the needle faster in your business, integrating something that is of a higher ticket is going to help you. and keeping in mind what we spoke about with pricing. A couple of other things. We're at 40 minutes. We'll spend about 5 minutes on this, and then I'm happy to open it up to a Q&A. One of the biggest things I think people can invest time into is learning to sell one-to-one. I did some of it in my consulting days, diagnosing a client's issues and then, saying, well, this is what it's going to be. Jamie's done a lot more of it than I have from a sales perspective, and that's why he's my go-to dude for that. But I think not everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, there's a lot of people want to automate and they want their funnel to do all the selling for them and all that kind of stuff. And then they wonder why their videos don't convert. I think you can learn a lot about how to sell one-to-many by first selling one-to-one and by actually having a conversation with people. Because if you think about it from a couple of perspectives, when you talk to people directly, you're going to learn what their triggers are. You're going to learn, okay, in that scenario, they didn't buy for this reason, or I said this thing and they disappeared, or I said this thing and they did buy. So you're going to learn what triggers people to purchase. You're also going to learn what their objections are directly. And the good thing about a one-to-one environment is you can handle them directly. Whereas a piece of content that's selling on your behalf has to handle all those objections because you can't be there to go, no, wait, Sally, just pause the video, right? You can do this. Like, it doesn't work that way. So the one-to-one environment is a really, really powerful place to start. And then that will really nicely transition over to creating videos. So I think it's a good thing for people to do, especially early on. I know you'll have some views on this one, Jamie.
Yeah, I think the longer I've been doing this, the more I'm finding it easier to produce content to sell to the masses based on the fact that I've spent so much time, a lot of years, 16 years in a sales capacity on and off throughout that time, offline specifically, but more online in the last few years. And I think, especially now that I'm really diving into the kind of psychological mechanics behind that, and I'm now producing my content in a way that allows me to speak to some of these pain points that people are experiencing, because I've now dealt with it so much on an interpersonal basis. It just makes that process a lot easier. And it makes it more congruent with kind of who you are as a person as well, because then you are sort of targeting your content to put it out there to adapt to these things that you've learned along the way. So in my opinion, I think that learning, especially like sales on a one-to-one basis, whether it is this type of environment like on a Zoom call or literally on a person-to-person basis or a phone, whatever the case may be, I think that is an incredibly powerful tool to use. And like Jacob mentions, I think taking that concept, learning it from a fundamental standpoint, will give you that confidence to then go and start, when you do start producing your content en masse, it's going to allow you to put that message out there with a lot more ease. That was a big kind of takeaway for me when I sort of really started diving into this stuff in more recent times. So,
and then on that, what are some of the biggest? Well, let's talk about it in two parts. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making in one-to-one selling? And then what are some of your kind of big tips?
So it's interesting. My sales process has evolved quite dramatically since, I guess back in the day. And although I have kind of things that I'd like to ask and certain things I like to bring up nowadays, is not to sound too woo-woo, because I know there's, I know I'll probably get critiqued for this, but it comes from a different place now. Because I it's one of those things where if you're selling to someone who has a genuine need, then you're able to accurately highlight why this solution is appropriate for them. But the thing is, and this is what most people don't understand, is that it's okay to walk away from the deal. Like, not everyone's going to be the right fit, and you still need to maintain that kind of frame of, like, it's not going to be for everyone. I don't need to sell this to absolutely everyone. And maintaining that is a super powerful place to come from, because it means you're not needy, you're not desperate, you don't need the sale, you don't need them to do anything. You're basically still going to have your solution, they're still going to have their problem at the end of the day. So,
yeah. I think that's a really powerful. That last line is mega powerful, right? You're still going to have your solution, they're still going to have their problem. It just lets you detach so much.
Mm. And I think that word you just used there, actually, that was kind of where I was going with that, is like if you really, really detach and you can really, really empathize with someone, then that's the key to it, in my opinion. Because if you're trying to go through some words and you're like, so like, oh no, I'm out of place with what I'm saying, and I need to make sure that the thing goes like that, and it makes it very unconversational, and no one buys if they feel like they're being pushed into something. But people will buy if the solution is presented in a way that does actually solve those problems.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are truly detached from that process, it makes it so much easier just to, as I sort of mentioned before, it's cool. Well, it doesn't matter what happens. I still have something that is completely badass that's going to help a bunch of people. It may not be this person, and I'm completely prepared to walk away from that if it's not the right situation, not really the right solution for them as well.
And again, you just put another line in there that's perfect, is prepared to walk away. You always need to be prepared to walk away. If you're not prepared to walk away and you're that invested into the process, or into the outcome rather, you're cooked before you start, because you need them, and then you're coming from a place of desperation, and people can sniff that even through a messenger conversation, especially on a phone call, even in the one-to-many forum, right? If you're recording a video and you're like, holy shit, I need this to work, it's going to come across. It's going to come across in how you present, and it's going to come across in how you deliver it, and it's going to have the same effect, which is why I'm saying there's a lot of correlations between this one-to-one and one-to-many stuff. It's like the traffic argument. People are like, oh, paid traffic, organic traffic, this one's better, and it's like, oh no, I'm not selling one-to-one, I use funnels. It's like there's a lot of crossover, and people need to spend less time arguing about that stupid shit and more time just doing stuff. So I think we touched on the traffic side of things, which is, look, start with one, add in layers, reinvest into ads. I think even with your ability to invest in ads, I think having an organic platform is really powerful. You've just got to look at how many Facebook ad accounts are getting shut down right now. I think having some kind of platform that you can lean on is really important. And if it's a topic that you enjoy, like it's pretty fun. Like I like, it's ridiculous that we get paid to sit here and talk about this stuff, because I love this shit.
Yeah.
Like if it's a topic you're interested in, the content piece should be fun. It shouldn't be that laborious. There'll be phases you go through where you're like, oh, I don't really feel like doing it today. But if you can push through those for the most part, and creating new offers can actually re-stimulate your love of content, because you're like, fuck, how can I come up with a really cool angle that's going to segue into my new thing? So, they go hand in hand, right? Don't just keep churning out content.
That was actually, this might be mildly off topic, but one of the things you commented on before in terms of content, and this is where I was getting stuck a couple of years back, and it was basically where I'd spent 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it was. I'd learned pretty much every ad platform there was out there. I was running an agency, I was doing all this stuff, blah blah blah. But when it came to producing content, there was such an incongruence with the way that I was putting it out there. So it would be like, one day I'm like, cool, well, this is how you rank an article on Google, and this is backlinking. And then the next day it would be like, cool, well, this is how you get your CPA offers from Max Bounty, and this is how you run traffic to it. And so if someone, and it wasn't until this was pointed out to me, I was looking at externally and trying to be as objective as possible, like, oh yeah, there's nothing like, and then what am I selling off the back of that? Like, okay, that's kind of weird. So I think congruence across the way that you're selling, the way that you're producing content, I think that can be a massive one as well. It was just a little side note. I just happened to
no, it is the most powerful content isn't the how-to stuff. The most powerful content is something that changes people's perspective on something. So if you, again, this comes back to building your brand's profile, your product profile, your offer profile, because then you can go, well, this is the shit that I believe in and I know to be true. And now I can go out and create content and say, you should probably think this way if you're at all serious about achieving X outcome. When people are presented with content that's like that, slightly contrarian, a different perspective, they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to go, that's bullshit, Jacob's an idiot, I'm done, I might leave a snide comment on the way out, or they're going to go, holy shit, I've never thought about it that way. And the light bulb's going to go off. The affinity that is instantly going to create with your brand is really, really powerful. And that's how you bring new people in, is by giving them a perspective that they haven't thought about before. You can then amplify that more in your content by doubling down on that viewpoint. And you can then present them with how-to content. The key with how-to content is tie it into what you're selling. Okay. If I'm jumping on and I'm talking about here's how you craft an offer, you can say things like, this comes from the framework that we teach in the Super Affiliate Accelerator, right? Or before, when we were talking about the bait post concept, or hooking people in with a new hook and then knowing how you're going to ascend them, I was like, we cover that in one of the strategies in the Rolodex. How does your how-to content tie into what you are selling? Okay. And if you've previously given people a perspective shift, helped amplify that feeling, and then you put the how-to content in front of them with a direct connection to what you're selling, that's the sequence you need to take people through. Okay. That's like something I should have charged everybody that's watching this for. That's the sequence. That sequence of those three things is big. And you don't have to be like, all right, today I'm posting 1, then 2, then it doesn't have to be sequential. But when you go, all right, well, which bucket is this? Is this a post where I'm trying to change people's views? I'm debunking myths. I'm helping them avoid pitfalls with other problems. Is this something that where I'm trying to split people and go, you're either you're with me or you're against me kind of thing? Am I doubling down? Am I reinforcing this belief pattern? Or am I trying to do a more value how-to? This is where most people's value posts fall flat, is because they haven't paired it with content that flips people's perspective. So they haven't developed that affinity, right? And it just falls into the mass of value-based how-to content. And then they don't tie it to their offer, right? They might be like, how to do X when they're trying to sell Y, and there's no correlation, right? That's a big lesson right there.
You should charge for this.
Absolutely. I'm going to put a pay funnels link in the description, and nobody can leave until they make a payment of $1,000.
Gold coin donation. Maybe
to the Guru Fund.
To the beach pad.
So I'm just circling back up to the comments and looking if there's any questions. If you've got other questions, drop them, and I'm going to start working our way through. So Facebook user said, their parents gave him a very unfortunate name. So it doesn't really matter what you have to do, sell, it's how you present it. No, I disagree with that. I think it definitely matters what you do / sell, but most people don't know how to present it well enough that it actually sells. What you do for people and how you help them is massively important, but it's completely redundant if you can't sell it. Right? So it is hugely important. It is hugely important that you over-deliver. It is hugely important that you help people. It is hugely important that you give them a good experience. There's far too many idiots out there not doing that. But if you don't know how to package and present it in a way that is desirable, people will never get to see it. So a quality product becomes redundant if you can't sell it. That's the point that we're making. Joshua on YouTube says you guys work together. I've seen Jamie on Google Ads. There you go, mate. Yes, we do.
Book a call.
Jamie is a coach in one of my programs. What else? Nobody really want to know how to sell effectively. I'm trying to switch on my messaging for serious people. Yeah. Sales is like a really taboo word. Because it brings up images of, the used car salesman on a Saturday morning with his cigarette, and you can smell his hangover from Friday night.
Gil.
It's old Gil, exactly. Old Gil, and he's like,
a sale.
Yeah, you need the paint protection. It's $5,000. That kind of shit.
I change people's minds with this, because if you look at your entire life, for anyone that has, whether it's conscious or subconscious, you have some sort of thing in your head about selling, which prevents you from not wanting to sell. Your entire life is sales. And to paint a picture of that, and I'm going to use a really oblique reference here, but when a child is crying, they want something. They're selling the idea that they need attention. They're selling, whatever food, whatever it is, right? When you are trying to get your first job, or any job for that matter, you don't put up the worst parts of yourself. You dress nicely, you do your hair and makeup or whatever your kids are into these days, and you rock up and you present yourself in a certain way. Same with your resume, same with the phone interviews, same with attracting a partner. You don't like go and, hey, these are all my bad sides, let's hang out. You put on your best stuff. And that sales is a form of sales. So it's everywhere in our whole life. So get used to it. Start selling some stuff.
It's good. I mean, a good transaction is win-win. Someone gets a solution, and your business makes money, which means it grows. And that pays staff wages. It's a good thing. You don't stress about it. Just like chill on the selling, and you'll be sweet.
Just real quick on the changing up your messaging thing for that comment, and if you're still with us as well, is that you can start to, Jacob mentioned this before, but you can start to polarize your audience. And so there is effectively a way in your content to basically go, okay, this is what I stand for. These are the people I want to attract and I want to work with, that I know I can help and that I know I can serve. And these are the people that I probably don't want to deal with, that I'm probably not going to be able to help. Yeah. And so when you start articulating that in your content and you become very clear about who it is that you can serve as well, that means it's a lot easier just to say, well, this is who I do want to work with. These are who I don't want to work with, and actually call that out in your content. It'll be really powerful.
Yeah. And that goes beyond I want to work with, Sally, she's 40. That goes to what are the mindset traits of that individual, right? And you can say, there's some people who will never say this because they think it's rude or whatever, but you can literally say, and I say this all the time, is please don't message me if you're not prepared to invest. We're too busy. There's too much going on. We don't have time to deal with people who just want to, go back and forth for hours and get free information. We just don't have time to deal with it. That's not insulting. It's business, right? So say things like that, articulate that to people. Look, I'm making an offer. Please don't message me if you're not prepared to invest X amount of money. That sets the scene very, very nicely. If you're not serious, if this isn't something that you're serious and committed to, right, then please don't bug me. You're wasting my time. And it works a lot of the time. When I understood this stuff and started integrating it into my content, the amount of people in my inbox drastically dropped who were there to try and bug me and get free info, because they hear it over and over again. They're like, well, Jacob's not going to indulge my bullshit. So start literally verbalize it in your content. Is who do you want to deal with? Who don't you want to deal with? What kind of traits do you want? What must they be prepared for when they talk to you? All that kind of stuff really, really helps. You just got to be a bit direct about it. Facebook user. Could you discuss channeling the desires that already exist above selling the desire and the solutions that we all have to solve that for others, not the product?
I'll try and interpret. I'll just throw out some hopefully wisdoms.
Plurals.
If you look at basically desire, which is, I want to go do X, Y, Z, or want to achieve this, or who do I want to become, and how does my life want to look? Strangely enough, for a lot of us, that's not a very powerful motivator, because it's a pipe dream, and we've anchored it to a dream. Because when you've got a dream, it's sometimes, unless you've got a solid plan to get there, it's like dangling the carrot, and you're always chasing it. So therefore, most people probably won't take action based on, you could get this. But what does move the needle, and what does cause people to act, is the discomfort they are currently feeling. And if you can highlight that, then that is the thing that's going to motivate them. It's kind of like, if you're putting your hand on an element, it's going to hurt. So of course, your reaction is to move away from that. But it's probably not going to be initially to put your hand under cold water, for no reason. It would be because, one's the desire, which I need cold water. One's the pain, which is the element. So where I'm going is that's the motivating factor. So think of that when when you're looking to sell those things as well, sell the products or whatever it is that you're offering.
Yeah, it's huge. All right, I've got about 5 minutes and I've got to jump. I've got an appointment. So I'm just going to fire through these questions real quick. There was one from Tony about offers. He said, I've found offers hard to make early in business. It's discouraging when you put one out there and get crickets. It's also hard to know why you're getting crickets. Yeah, man. And honestly though, like even at a higher level, you can put stuff out there and get crickets. It still happens. And you've just got to kind of reflect and go, did it get any attention to begin with? Right? Like did the copy work, or, have I not grown my audience enough? Right. And that doesn't mean stop making offers until you grow your audience. It just means, it might just take you a little bit more time to get traction. Did people reach out, but then when you had a conversation with them about it, then it kind of flopped, in which case it might be the offer or the sales process. Or did they get through the process and then they either didn't buy or they kind of ghosted you, in which case it could be the offer or it could be how it was pre-framed. There's a few moving parts. What's the best thing to do is make the offers and look at what does work as it starts to, because it will. If you keep putting enough out there, it will work, and start to highlight the reasons for it. The fastest way to trigger people to actually buy stuff is think about, those psychological triggers, is like scarcity, exclusivity, new, all these kind of things that can really get offers moving more quickly than something that's like evergreen. All right, let me real quick get through these. Yes, Tony, you need both of them. You need to know who the person is insofar as what do they look like and what are they all about, but who also is in how am I going to get in front of them and what platform.
Maybe like a quiz to diagnose problems.
Talking about like automating the sales process kind of. The quiz form will work. Yeah.
You also want to filter who you're spending that time with as well. If you're on a sales call for an hour and they don't have the financial resources, they knew that coming into it, then you're wasting both of your time. Guys are selling high ticket. Would you promote the software you use, funnels, etc., or concentrate on the actual high ticket
product? So you're talking about like a course or the tools that you use in your business. I think you can do either. It doesn't matter. It really just depends how you bundle it all up. You can promote either. What might be effective is you start with the actual high ticket product, and then you can start to recommend the tools that generate you the money with that product. So, this is the autoresponder I use, here's the package, all that kind of stuff. Just focus on creating an offer that's attractive to people, regardless of what that core product is, as long as it's a good product. What drives you to consistently make sales without getting burnt out? I want to grow my business and I don't want to go back to a corporate job. So that's enough of a motivator for me.
I would say that cash flow is good in your business. Burnout is real for everyone, by the way. Like I was facing that sort of late last year. I was just absolutely exhausted, and I was like, this is emotionally draining. So I get it. It really is. But you got to learn how to balance out your life in general, and find those things that aren't like giving, where you're not putting all your energy into that are actually allowing you to kind of recharge, so to speak.
Yeah. Two more from Tony. Tony, man, we might do a post on these in the SAA group, because I got to fly. Detaching from the outcome. You want to be involved in the process, but detaching from the outcome. It's really important to be involved in the process and to really listen and understand their situation so you can diagnose correctly, but detaching from, well, look, even if I do diagnose them correctly, then they may not buy, and you can't let that, hang you up. Content will hit you back in SAA because I got to fly, but any other questions? How do I shake the feeling that everyone already knows about the product that I want to sell and therefore I don't make the offer? You're not going to know if they know about it until you make the offer. And even if they do, you might present it in a way that's more desirable. They might have more of a connection with you after your conversation. And also all they can say is, yeah, I've already heard about that and I'm not interested, in which case you left nothing up to chance. So just tell them.
Don't worry about hair or makeup anymore.
I may have missed this earlier on the call, but how to identify the correct avatar? I can't see who that's from. It says Facebook user. I would start with the product in terms of the niche. Like I would start with, okay, well, what am I trying to sell? And who is that a good fit for? / what type of people do I actually want to work with? Right. Targeting your niche based on what you're actually selling is a really powerful way to narrow in on who you want to work with. Would you talk about bonuses while presenting your solution, or just talk about the solution first and then present the bonuses later? You could do it either way. So if you've had a conversation back and forth with somebody, and then you get to a point where we talk about this concept called permission to pitch. You've had a conversation and you go, look, I really think I can help you. Do you mind if I tell you a little bit about how that would work? If they go yes, that next message shouldn't be like, here's all the modules you're going to get and here's all the bonuses. It should just be, here's how I can help you get the outcome that you're clearly seeking. And then you can get into down the track what's included, because this is a concept I learned of Sam Ovens. You've got this, people have this like feature brain, and this comes back to what we're talking about at the start, viewing the value of things based on how much you get. And you don't want to set off that feature brain as part of the sales process. You want to focus on the result. So as the conversation progresses, you say, this is how I can help you. And then, they're going to start to come back to you with questions. And then at the end, you could say something like, all right, awesome. So here's the link to get started. If they give you permission to send them the link, just to clarify, here's all the things that you're going to receive. You're also going to get these bonus trainings. Let me know when you've made the payment and we'll get you started. If they ask, what's included, then you can tell them and just answer them directly. Once the conversation flips from you asking questions to them starting to pepper you with questions, answer them directly. Don't play any games. But also don't indulge long-winded conversations. Keep it very focused. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the best thing. I've got to fly. I apologize for jumping off. I've got to make it to an appointment that's about 20 minutes away, and I've got 19 minutes to get there. So we're going to probably do another one either Thursday or early next week. I'll put up a post if people are enjoying these lives. I'm happy to keep doing them. Either jump into SAA if you aren't already. If you want to get into the high ticket affiliate marketing space, check out the Fast Cash Rolodex at www.fastcashrolodex.com. If you want some strategies that will allow you to monetize your audience quickly. I think we've got maybe one spot left on the post I did in the group. And I've got an inbox full of messages to get back to as well. So that there may be a spot for you there. If you guys want to work together in any capacity. Otherwise, you can head over to jacobkarras.com and you'll see what we've got going on. And there's a form where you can apply for some one-to-one. That will be an application. My assistant will get back to you. They'll ask you some questions, and then we can go from there. Okay. Cool. All right. I'm going to wrap it up. This was fun. Jamie, my man, I appreciate you hopping on and taking up an hour of your morning. We'll do this again soon. I'm going to rope Jamie into more of these because I like the discussion element of it. But I got to wrap up, and I'll see you all on the next one. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.